long that they feel like, oh, well, I'm dark like this, so I must be these people. No, you're not. You're not. They imported y'all. They moved y'all from the Greater Peninsula when they took over Saudi Arabia and flooded a lot of Saudis into Egypt. You know what I mean? Between 1914, 1920. You know what I'm saying? Right around the time T.E. Lawrence and them was over there, who they call Lawrence of Arabia. That's when they invented the word Arab. The word Arab didn't exist until 1914, man.
More. I just want to add on to your thought. When you said about being a horrible Muslim, the thought that came to my mind was, if these ancient Egyptians, according to them, were polytheists.
Right.
So why are you digging up polytheists? Isn't like what association you want to do with someone who's in the shirk, as you say. You get what I'm saying?
Then you got real guys over there. Like I did a video where I saw and showed a video of a Moor. You know what I'm saying? But he's from over there. He's dark skinned. And he took them to the temple in Abydos that got the name Allah in hieroglyph. Aleph, Lam, Lam, Ha. That's how it's written. And he showed and proved, like, nah, this is where they got it from. You know what I'm saying? Where they got it from. Like, this is the stone where it came from. So, yeah, we know about the story about Isis Urania and the Fertile Crescent and all of that. But ancient Arabic is Kufic. Okay? And that's the stuff that they can't translate because they got to come from the blood. Remember, the Moors were the high priests of Anu. Remember, I told you, we Moors, we're a race of high priests and priestesses who have, from generation to generation, storing the different logos and divine and national and imperial data from all of the different cultures and societies that existed prior to us being here. That's why we here in America, we are the most, put like this, because of what they call slavery, we got the genetic trait of every so-called West Africa, every tribe on the planet, not just Africa, on the planet. When you get your DNA test and it say this % European, what you think that means? That means that they tracing your DNA back to when you, that look like you, was over there looking like that. European don't mean white. You know what I'm saying? It means what it say, European. Yeah. But guess what? The word European, outside of the Europa, the goddess, outside of the EU meaning hillside, and ropa or rope meaning to bind in. Besides that, it's also a designation. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, it's like anything else. It's a way to describe a place. But even that place that they was calling Europa was being called that by Moors or melanated people of entities like the Holy Roman Empire stuff that was trying to break away from the yoke of the Khans in them that was controlling Asia from the fall of what we would perceive the Roman state. So they're really West Asia. All Europe is really West Asia. So everybody in Europe, whether you in Italy, Spain, you really West Asian. You know what I'm saying? Really. That's where the word, and then when you go further from the European side into the so-called steppes and all of that, that's when you get the Eurasian words, right? But when you go into the ancient peoples of Eurasia, you're going to go into the Thracians, you're going to go into the Scythians, and these people was melanated, dark skinned. You understand what I'm saying? These people was not what we were taught that they look like. So it's the same thing going back to what I was saying with the Egyptians digging up our ancestors, turning them into paint. Do you know that a lot of the paint that was used to paint the pictures that Picasso and these niggas was doing was painted with the pigmentation that they got from grounding up mummies? That it was called mummy brown, mummy red, Indian red, umber, dark umber, burnt umber. These are all shades that they took from grounding our ancestors up and turning them into paint. They was eating them. They was having mummy stew. When the white man first got out there, when the Jews first got into the pogroms, when they was trying to basically give themselves legitimacy, basically they started squatting between 1899 and like 1930. They went into Egypt as like homeless people and was like just squatting. And enough of them from Central Europe was going off of visas given to them, paid for them by Lord Rothschild. And once the Balfour Agreement was made, then they started an influx of homeless Khazarian Jewish people who had no genetic connection to the ancient patriarchs. Not saying that the Egyptians that was there at the time had relations with them either. They didn't either. But they was more natural to that environment than the Russian Jews that they was importing. You understand? So they both colonized. Let's keep it real. Like they both, you know what I'm saying? They both taking advantage of the fact that we ain't there. So they both coming up. It's just one had a bigger bankroll as we start moving into the time of fiat currencies and central banks and shit. And then they basically leveraged themselves enough to be able to disenfranchise the government was already there. So by the time the Egyptian so-called government that basically was appointed by the British was already there, they was like, well, nah, we're not backing you up. So basically you just gave us this country, Egypt, so you could eventually use this as a beachhead to set up what you really want, which is this fake puppet state of Israel, which according to the laws of Israel is illegal. Their God Yahweh said that they not supposed to have their own states. This is what they God say. That's how they got in trouble the last time. But they let these other people who are calling themselves Jews, who are not of Judah, use their name to go in there and then with the help of the devil, set up a puppet state that the West, i.e. the Vatican, the United States, Britain, France, right? Germany, Belgium, right? The six-headed beast that you read about in Revelation. All them niggas could get money so they could keep Africa destitute, right? Keep Europa on top and then use us as the slave crop to keep the whole cycle going. See what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's the problem. So everybody fronting. The Egyptians is fronting the same way the Siberians over here in the plains and shit is fronting. Y'all not from here. Y'all from Siberia. Like I said, show me somebody that was here over 380,000 years ago. You can't do that. So first in time, first in line. Sorry. And that's from father. That's from so-called black man to so-called black man. We're not even talking about Eve. We're not even talking about Lucy and all of that shit they talking about. Because that's how they try to trap you up too. Like, oh yeah, Lucy was the first African woman that they found in Africa. Lucy is a primate. Stop trying to associate me with primates. When I was here before them, I grew up analogous. I evolved analogous to them. I was never an ape. Because if I was an ape, then that means I could be an ape now.
Exactly.
So, and if we was apes, then and we evolved from apes, then what are apes still doing here? You're lying. You're lying. That's like telling me I'm on a ball spinning through space at such a velocity speed that I can't feel the movement. But if I get up right now and walk to the bathroom, I feel the movement of my leg. What are you talking about? Like, it's just, we just believe the most idiotic shit. And then when we don't, they want to gaslight us and say that, you know, we toxic and masculine and shit. When masculinity is the only reason why the devil hasn't won. The only reason why he ain't win, because man's still here. And I just showed the proof to you that we was here before him. We was here before the devil. Before anybody even thought of a devil, we was here. Before y'all was Muslims, before y'all was Christians, before y'all was whatever y'all was, we was here like this, watching y'all decide what y'all gonna be. Think about that, yo. Like you, what you gonna do with a people like that? What you gonna do with people like that? You can't rule over them. You can only make them forget. And that's what they did.
Yeah, definitely. They definitely made us forget. They made us forget a lot, and that just speaks to where we at now. Brothers such as yourself who are bringing us and reminding us of who we are. You know, and I want to just make ask one more question in the context of Noble Drew Ali, and then we can move on. But one of the things I appreciate about what you do is the fact that um, you say specifically in your descriptions on your videos, what I'm saying, about people making sure that we support more information, and giving credit where credit is due, and how certain people are taking pieces of it and not giving acknowledgement to the Moors or to the Prophet. And what we have witnessed, all of us has witnessed, throughout the past, at least 20 years, but let's just say the past 10 years, even more so, is individuals using the Moorish paradigm for their own personal, reasons. And then when they're approached with certain information that they themselves, like you said, they're not even equipped to address, whether it's nationality, whether it's anything, they resort to slander. Last week, I did a video on the guy Tariq Nasheed. What I'm saying? He put out something. He was just.
Don't gaslight me. Don't try to make me feel like you really with this so-called black power shit and all y'all niggas just waiting for the white man to win. That's what y'all doing, man. Y'all waiting for the white man to win. And guess what? He was never to win in the first place, because the real white people was black people. And that's what they don't want to accept. That the real Europeans, the real Asians, the real Indians, the real this, they're all were melanated people. And that the cultures that exist today were a part of the human bouquet, the flowering of what became humanity based upon the work that we put in. If it wasn't for no Moorish harems that was controlled by the Moorish priestesses, there would be no Spaniards. There would be no Asians. None of that would exist. Y'all wouldn't even be here. There would be no so-called Arabs. Y'all would not exist. That's because the oldest genetic DNA haplogroups are found in us. Sorry. What's up, King? It's my son.
Indeed.
You know what I'm saying? It exists with us. The most genetic diversity that you will ever find, you will find in places where, like Africa. You won't find no genetic diversity in Europa. What genetic diversity is in Europe? What are you talking about? Where is it at? It don't exist. That's why it's being repeopled now. So you mean to tell me that so right now, if a bunch of people from Senegal, they all move to France, and in 100 years, their ancestors, their children are in the government, does that mean then that they were always the French people there running the government? No. Because in the end, if they trace their lineage back, it goes to a time when people that was like them wasn't there. You see what I'm saying? So if you could do that with every culture except us, what does that mean? That means that we was here first. That means that we'll always be here. That means you can nuke this place, you can burn it, you can break it, you can bury it, you can flood it, you can do whatever you want to do to it. We will still be here looking just like this. Just maybe a little smaller or taller, bigger or shorter. Like I said, the most genetic diversity you're going to find on the planet is in Africa.
Right.
Go. You want to find the tallest person in Africa, tallest person in the world, go to Africa. Name one thing that we said today is false. They can't. Because it's the same dudes. And then in Europe, then the Moors did the same thing in Europa. And during the Dark Ages and shit. During the Dark Ages, they didn't have nothing. didn't have nothing, and they was totally under the yoke and foot of the Khan and them in Asia, right? The Khan now, that's our cousin. You know what I'm saying? That's our cousin. The Khan is the cousin of the Sultan, basically. You did? So they in a Khanate, we in a Sultanate. And we both making money off of these West Asians. We both keeping these niggas in the dark. But me, they don't even know I exist. They don't even know this part of the world exists. That's how much he kept them in the icebox to get that to keep them like that. It wasn't until we went into Europa and opened it back up for them. That's what caused the beef between us and the Khan. Then the Khan and them in the 13th century tried to invade. And then our cousin, Abu Bakari, right, sent his peoples over in the 13th century. And then we shut that down. Then the prisoners of war that the Khan sent over, who were the Siberians, got put on plantations, as well as the African mercenaries. So the Siberian mercenaries got put on reservation, got put on POW camps that we'll call reservations that existed in the plains, right? Right. And then the African dark-skinned mercenaries, right, that was coming over, they got put on the plantation systems in the South. That was being run by Confederacy people that looked like us. You see? That's why when the slaves got freed, they transferred the ownership. You see? Because now they were going to use these disproportionate slaves to get rid of the rest of us. And then allow the slaves that did this, the white slaves who did this, to then become citizens under them. And then give those white slaves limited jurisdiction over us. See? Simple. We making it hard. If reparations is really like that, how many of y'all niggas is petitioning Ghana or petitioning Burkina Faso or any of these other African nations for sending y'all niggas over here? Why you keep going to Europe? That wasn't where the supply chain started, you know. According to the story.
Right, according to the story.
According to the story. So is this why Ghana is giving free citizenship now? Because they don't want to share that reparation money directly to niggas. So we'll just give passport real quick. Why wouldn't they? It's all a scam. They all scamming. That's not even Ghana. That's Benin. What are y'all talking about? Ghana's an English word. Don't y'all understand? How are y'all an African nation with an English name? What?
Nigeria. That's another one.
Am I bugging?
Right.
So yeah, okay, y'all got your own country, Nigeria, but y'all was named by Lady Flor when she was leaving.
Right.
When she was leaving, she's like, you know what? Call this place Nigeria. I'm out. And y'all did it to this day. And again, I'm not trying to diss the Nigerian people. Right. I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about y'all governments. I'm talking about the secret Freemasons that's running y'all societies, man. They got y'all still worshiping European gods, and y'all wondering why y'all still not getting what y'all supposed to get, man. Why you think all the Africans go to Europe for holiday? Because all of the ruling people in Africa was really from Europe. They brought all of them niggas over there during the age of new imperialism. Look it up. Yeah. And then the white administrators that they left in Europe to man their houses ceased to recognize them as ancient landowners and basically said that we're going to keep, if you come back here, you're going to be dispossessed. So you stay there and open up a colonial system now for people that look like us to come over there and do that. And then we'll give you back access to your estates. And they agreed. Idi Amin, why would they make a movie about an African dictator and then call it The Last King of Scotland? Anybody wonder that? Why did Idi Amin have bagpipes at his funeral? Anybody? Nobody thought to look into that?
Right.
Yeah. And this is exactly why our people messed up. Because we don't ask, we just see movies and shit and don't ask no questions. We're like, word, okay, he had bagpipes. That's cool. Like, no, man. like this family, the family that just went through all of this shit to get their property back, to get the beach, the Bruces. Do you know that the Bruce bloodline goes all the way back to Robert of Bruce? Who's Robert of Bruce? Robert of Bruce is the nigga in Braveheart who took over the army at the end after they disemboweled Mel Gibson. Because all of them people was melanated and Moors too. Bruce, McGillicuddy, McGuffin, McDoug, McDougal, McDuff, all of those are melanated black people names.
The Max, yep, that's right.
The Micmacs, the Max, all of that come from the Pictish and the early Britons. All of them niggas was coming from a place they called Scotia, that they now call Scotland, and that was an Egyptian colony. So all of them stories of the leprechauns and all that shit, all of that shit is about black people. All that stuff is black people, man. And what did the Bruces do? Go through all of that, and now they sold the beach back to the white man for less money. So when I saw that, I said, yo, black people doomed, man. They doomed. They doomed. Because this is the thought process of black people. This is where they at. That's why I said black people will give everything up and keep nothing. Black people will allow anything to happen to them and not do shit. Black people will do everything to anybody but themselves. Black people are the only people on the earth that wake up, and if they in the street and shit like that, they wake up with the thought of killing somebody that look just like them. They the only people in the world that do that. Moors don't do that.
No.